you went to school as like public administration. Like what was your thought going into this whole thing? Was it always politics? Was it always like, hey, interested in government? How'd you get here?
So my studies up at the University of Utah were focused on international studies, politics, and conflict resolution. So I was focused on kind of assuming that I was going to go either the corporate business route or law school route and deal with like resolving conflicts between individuals. And then after my LDS mission, and I had served in South Korea. So after my mission, I thought, I'm going to go and focus on conflict resolution in East Asia, and heck, maybe I'll go and be helpful in resolving conflicts between North and South Korea. You have all these thoughts and these dreams. Then 2008 comes around and the economy completely crashes. And so I had this pivot moment where it's like, okay, I'm okay at math. I'm not like a math whiz, but half the legal jobs in America just disappeared and twice the number of kids are going to law school. Does this make sense to be in that class right now? And I decided to put it off. Got involved.
I couldn't even get in. I tried. Took the LSAT 3 times. I couldn't because I wanted to go to the University of Chicago or George Washington. Yeah, and I needed a top line LSAT score, and I just couldn't get. I couldn't get the average up enough to be able to get into it, and I didn't want to go to a second or third tier law school. It was like you're either going to go to law school and get all of the opportunities, or pick a different route, go a different direction, right? And so for me, I tried.
Let's be honest though, and I ultimately didn't go to law school, full disclosure. So I'm speaking from the outside, as are you, but I kind of look at it. It seems like a Ponzi scheme. You go and you get a ton of debt.
It was the best thing God ever did for me. Right. He's like, you don't want to do that. Don't waste your time. I'm gonna just guide you on this route over here. I'm glad I didn't, for sure.
You and me both. So very
conflict
much.
resolution though, like that seems like there's a lot of skill sets that you employ just from that as working on that specific skill set. It seems like you have to do that
constantly. And I would say my best practice of late is 4 kids. It's amazing how much opportunity you have to engage.
How old are they?
I've got almost 15-year-old down to an almost 6-year-old. So 3 boys and a girl. And they're amazing. But as any parent, I'm sure, experiences, it's amazing how much conflict occurs in any one moment about where you're sitting at the dinner table.
A complete absence of logic and reason too. So you're like, it's
amazing. But
it feels like a caucus meeting every once in a while.
Here's one of the things though that I love about conflict in a family. And I'm not talking about destructive conflict. I'm talking about productive, kind of just the maturation of any family and relationships and kids growing up.
You took my toy, you get your feet off me.
Yep. Why is my Lego character on your new build? That's mine. Yep. That was a conflict from 2 days ago.
Yeah. Nice.
So one of the things though that I love in families is you have 1,001 experiences of love and service for every one of those moments of conflict. And I think it's a good example for us to remind ourselves when we have a lot of conflict in our neighborhood, in our political party, in our political discourse, whatever it may be, and you don't know how to resolve it, maybe ask yourself, what are you doing to have those moments of love and service to then justify the relationship? Because if all you ever have is that anger and that conflict, of course it feels insurmountable and it feels like you're at direct conflict with somebody constantly. Well, in a family, you have it balanced through love. So I think it's always good for all of us to do more love and service in our community. So if you're wanting to represent your precinct as a precinct chair, or you're a delegate representing an area, or you're a candidate seeking to represent a geographic area, what's the service you can do to those very people to whom you're looking to represent them? And I think engaging in that service would, 1, make you a better candidate and elected official should you be elected. But 2, it gives you justification, meaning, thought, and inspiration on how to be the best you can while engaging in the political process.
Yeah. Man, that's so fascinating. Well, so going down that road, we look to the future, right? If we're going to look to the future, after the chair, are you wanting to continue just running, campaigns? Is that kind of your thought? Have you had you considered running for offices?
I've been asked that before, and there's been opportunities where I, for a split minute, thought about it, and it's like, I'm good. Yeah. So who knows what the future holds, but I don't have any political aspirations that I have to run for office. I care more about being the best dad, the best husband, and the best neighbor that I can be. And right now, I can try to be a good neighbor to the people of Utah.
When's your chair? When are you no longer the chair?
So there will be an election next year that I could either run for re-election or not, or others could run, but that election would be next year in the springtime.
And then the delegates vote?
Yep, state delegates.
The state delegates vote for it, not county.
The same state delegates that were elected at our most recent caucus, those will be the same state delegates next year who will decide who they want to see continue to be the party chair.
Now, does the party chairs across the state change, or is there staggering county chairs shift versus state chair? Or?
No, so you have 2 different years. You have caucus night that happens in the even years, and it's during what is referred to as a nominating year. So this is the year that the Republican Party in Utah, whether on the state level or on the county levels, goes about nominating our candidates. So that's a nominating year. Then in the odd years, it's called an organizing year. So the state delegates goes through organizing the party. And that's where all of the county party leaderships at their county conventions run for re-election or don't run. And you have changeovers in those positions. And then at the state convention, it's again an organizing state convention. And so then the state delegates would decide who the party chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer are.
Okay. And then that's for the county and the state. Yep. Okay. That makes sense. So, what do you have left, right? If you were to, what can you influence? Like, is there anything that you have, with the remaining time left, right? You got about a year left. What is it what are some initiatives that you're saying, hey, I want to see this change? Maybe some specific initiatives that you can do? Or?
So I'll give you the specific things that we're working on. I came into this with a commitment to raise enough money, not because that was the end goal, but because money raised and resources raised gives you the path to then accomplish all of your other goals. So to continue to raise the resources necessary to accomplish the other things that I'll talk about in just a moment. But I also mentioned one of the reasons I ran was to make sure that we were institutionalizing and creating systems and foundations for long-term success in the party. And so that's my commitment over this next year, is to make sure that we are building those systems so that whenever I'm done, whoever the keys to the party are handed off to, they're in a better place than where I found them. And hopefully that momentum continues to build, that then they can take it places way beyond what it's been before. And when they're done, they pass the keys on to, again, that momentum building space. So that's the long-term goal. There's some immediate goals as well that we have. So right now we're in between the convention and the primary. So under party rules, we are committed to our party nominees and our convention supported candidates. And so we are leaning into helping those convention winners across the state be as successful as possible. We want to see them perform very well at the primary, and hopefully we get a lot of those folks past that primary where they become the party nominee going into November. So that's what we're focused on for the next 4 or 5 weeks. After that, so come June 26th, around the entire state, we'll know who the Republicans on the ballot are, who will be the standard bearer for our party in November. So then you have to figure out a couple of things. One, in a lot of places in Utah, the election is effectively done at that point because the Republicans have such strength that they're going to win. Right. So in those areas, I have a desire to still have folks go and engage as effectively as possible with their constituents and earn as much support as possible. And the reason why is I want, like, let's say a Republican last year for a state house race received 60% of the vote. 60 to 40. That's an awesome win. I want it to go to 62% or 63% so that people nationally, when they look at Utah and they see where the trend's going, they see us getting more Republican, and wow, Republicans are doing even better than they were 2 years ago. I think that's to our long-term benefit.
And that's reversing a current trend, right?
Correct. We're kind of moving down. And so I want us to kind of move back into the place where most of our seats are very strongly performing and going to the Republican. There are some areas where we are not strong. So Salt Lake County, for example, and then Ogden. Those are 2 areas that we will be spending a lot of time and energy and resources and money focused on doing everything we can to flip as many of those Democrat-held seats, whether it's in the state Senate, the state House, the county council, the county assessor, like all of these various races in Salt Lake County. We are going to make sure that we are aggressively defending Republican-held seats and aggressively making the case and argument to the people of Salt Lake County and in each of their respective towns why the Republican Party has their back. and why we would love to and invite them to join us and to vote for our candidates and fight for Utah's future and Salt Lake's future. And the same will be true in Ogden. So we'll be focused on those. The other initiative that I have, once you get Salt Lake in order, the rest of the state's going to perform pretty well. You've got that seat in Ogden. Well, then you ask yourself the question, like, where else can Republicans in Utah be helpful towards our national challenges that we have as a country? And I would say that Arizona and Nevada, two neighboring states that in my lifetime have gone from Republican to Democrat, they both have an open, well, not an open, but they have a Senate race in both of those where it's a Democrat running for re-election in the case of Nevada, and in Arizona, it is an open seat. So you have a Democrat member of the House who's running for Senator Sinema's seat. She's not running for re-election. And we have the need for Republicans to win those two. In order for the national U.S. Senate to flip to Republican control, you need to win in Nevada and you need to win in Arizona. You also have, in the case of Arizona and Nevada, two battleground states that will help decide who takes the White House. Is it going to be another 4 years of sluggish mediocrity of what we've received under Joe Biden, or can we get a Republican back in there and have Donald Trump and some of the benefits that have come from him that we saw in those first 4 years that he served?